Now, Ukraine is targeting the source of Russia's air power with what a security source is calling the biggest attack on Russian airfields since the war began. This video posted on social media shows what looks like a drone crashing down on an airbase in Nizhny Novgorod Oblast, east of Moscow. A Ukrainian security source tells CNN that they struck 4 key Russian airfields in several regions, including Kursk, where the Ukrainian forces are currently gaining more ground. Claire Sebastian's been tracking this, joins me now. And Claire, a day after Putin threatened a, quote, worthy response to this surprise incursion, this is yet another blow for the military.
We still haven't seen that worthy response. And look, it's clear that Ukraine is trying everything to really stop Russia being able to attack effectively. On the ground, you see that those attacks sort of on the border region inside Russia are stopping the kind of shelling that we've seen over and over again over into the Sumy region of Ukraine. Local residents have told CNN that there's been a downtick in those. But if you hit the airfields further away, you can prevent the kind of sort of glide bomb attacks that we've been seeing increasing in frequency in recent months, the kind that devastated Avdiivka back in the winter. So that is the strategy here. We don't know how effective these attacks were yet, how many planes were actually destroyed, but certainly this is something that President Zelensky is using not only to sort of add to the morale boost of the incursion into Kursk, but to call for more weapons and less limitations, crucially, from his Western allies. Take a listen.
Thank you for the accurate, timely, and effective strikes on Russian airfields. Our Ukrainian drones are working exactly as needed. But there are things that drones alone cannot do. Unfortunately, we need other weapons, missile weapons. And we continue to work with our partners on long-range solutions for Ukraine.
So, yeah, he's banging the drum on this. He has been even before they started with the incursion into Kursk. But I think that perhaps there's also a message to the West here that Ukraine can literally invade Russia. We still don't see anything that looks really different from the normal course of hostilities from Russia in Ukraine in terms of escalation. So perhaps he's trying to make the point to the Western allies that they have nothing to lose, really, in lifting restrictions.
And there had been a slight, I think, thought that there'd be a sensitivity about this on the West part because Ukraine are using NATO machinery, ammunitions. What has the response been from Western allies? I know that President Biden has actually been speaking on this week.
Yeah, it's interesting because initially what we heard, certainly from the White House, was that they hadn't had a heads up. And quite often they do get a heads up, certainly about major operations from Ukraine. But since then, what we've seemed to be getting is a level of acceptance, right, from the Western allies. President Biden this week saying that, this created a real dilemma for Putin. He also said he's being briefed about this every 4 to 5 hours. So clearly he's really staying in touch with what's happening on the ground in the EU, the EU's top diplomat, offering support for this. So there's been no sort of backlash from Ukraine's Western allies. The US even announced a new weapons package last week. So I think that is quite telling in itself, even though, as we understand it, they didn't know in advance.
CNN military analyst and retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Cedric Leighton joins you now from Washington. Thank you so much for being here with us. So right after the incursion, some thought that this was just a way to sort of deal a blow to Putin, that Ukraine might quickly withdraw. But it's been a week. Ukraine's digging in, bringing in more equipment, building new defensive lines. Do you get the sense that the aim here really is to hold on to this territory, or as we heard there in that package, even advance and take more?
Yeah, that's really a possibility, Kim, and it's great to be with you. There are certain elements of what the Ukrainians are doing which indicate that they, at the very least, want to stay long enough for this to make a difference at the negotiating table. So what that would mean potentially is that the territory that they're taking right now, if they can keep it, could potentially be used as a bargaining chip for the exchange of territory that the Russians currently hold in Ukraine. So that's one possibility. Plus, we also have to remember that they're capturing prisoners. 100 was the total that we heard about today or yesterday. And that very fact is also something that can be used in the negotiations should they eventually take place.
Right. So let me ask you about those prisoners. Reportedly, Ukrainian troops, they haven't faced all that much opposition. Many of the Russian troops have been quick to surrender, as you say. So what do we know about the troops that are placed there. And what do you think it says about Russia's fighting force?
Well, Russia's fighting force is really basically thinned out, especially along that northeastern border of Ukraine. And what the Russians have done is they've basically moved a lot of their units, or at least the elements of those units, into areas like the Eastern Front, with the Donbas region of Ukraine. They've also moved some of them across from Kharkiv in the Belgorod region, and of course they have them stationed in Crimea. They are suffering from a manpower shortage. Of course, the Ukrainians are suffering from a manpower shortage as well. So what this does is it complicates things for both sides, but the side that can move more quickly is the side that will definitely have the advantage. And at the moment, the Ukrainians have the morale, they have the esprit de corps, and they have the movement, the quickness of movement, where they can actually gain some territory. The Russian soldiers that were in position when the Ukrainian incursion occurred were not of the same quality that they have in other parts of the front.
But, you know, morale and esprit de corps can only take you so far. Is it possible that Ukraine could suffer huge losses here with a Russian counterattack that will presumably eventually come?
Well, I think that's certainly a danger, and we've already noticed that there is some slowing in the Ukrainian advances. The Russians are moving troops from the Donbas area and from Crimea into position in the Kursk area. So we can expect there to be some heavy fighting in that area shortly. And that's going to, I think, challenge the Ukrainians and their ability to not only stay put, but also obviously challenge their ability to move forward. So they may have a bit of a tougher slog ahead, but they could still do some things that can cause damage to the Russian forces. And it really depends on the Russians' ability to be innovative and to fight back. But if the Ukrainians dig in, like they say they are, like we've seen, that could present some problems for the Russians as well.
Right. Then on the flip side, if Russia is rushing troops in from other areas, what effect might that have on the shape of the front lines overall?
Well, that could make a difference in certain areas, especially in parts of the Donbass. So far, we have only seen some continued advances, but very slight advances in the area around Pokrovsk, for example, in the Donbass area. But the more they move their troops out of the region, out of that region, the more likely it will be that the Ukrainians at the very least can hold their own there, but more likely will be that they will actually advance in certain areas in the Eastern Front. So that could make a big difference. Plus, it also means that the city of Kharkiv will be better protected from Russian advances in that area as well.
Yeah, that could be significant indeed. Listen, always great to speak with you, Colonel Cedric Leighton. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Really appreciate it.